the one thing I wanted to ask about when again we go into this kind of individual thriving for perfection or winning or succeeding is also the potential of burnout, right? So in your book, you I think describe where one of your colleagues or one of your co-athletes is getting a silver medal, and it's just like one of the worst days in his or her life, just because the top is not quite reached, which sounds to some of us ridiculous to feel down in a moment of what looks like achievement, but because it's so black and white, it still is an achievement for the individual. And I, with my background I used to be a skateboarder, so I'm quite familiar with people like Tony Hawk, Rodney Mullen, who've been excelling and keep winning in every contest they ever entered. And they were very empty at some point because there was no place to go. There was nothing else to do, because the winning concept themselves isolated them to a point of depression, which was quite insane. So tell us a bit more about, winning. It's lonely at the top kind of thing, and what that means to energy. And in comparison to what you just said, we should actually do this together. We should collaborate, because that gives us different dynamics.
Yeah, and it actually doesn't matter which step of the podium you're on or which step of the podium you're not on. It's what you associate with that moment that goes beyond that moment that matters. So it's what does the medal have that has lasting value once you put that piece of metal down and you're no longer got it around your neck? What does it symbolize that goes on after it? Crossing the line, finishing first, second, third, fourth, fifth, wherever, is just a moment in time. In itself, it doesn't last. But what lasts is the experience you've had on the way to crossing the line, first, third, fifth, wherever. And so it's really making sure that we don't disconnect that single moment in time, standing on a podium, crossing the line, with what's gone before and what goes after. That's when it becomes lonely. And it's as lonely for the gold medalist as it is for the person who comes last. And that's what I think I found so shocking almost, because for a while I thought maybe, I had a silver medal at the Olympics. Maybe that's just what happens. You come second and you're forever feeling you were one step off it. But then I looked at some gold medalists and spoke to them and increasingly found that in a lot of occasions they felt empty, depressed. You think, how is this possible? This picture, this myth of success that we sell, and that coaches will also, perpetuate almost. This moment will make your life. You give up everything for it. You won't enjoy it along the way, but that moment, suddenly, everything will be all right. But it doesn't work like that. And we have people like Mark Spitz, who won 7 gold medals, a swimmer in Munich in 1972, and he never ever recovered from realizing that those medals didn't create the rest of his life, didn't create a brilliant rest of his life, because it was then you've got to go and create that. So it's about connection of that moment to something that lasts, whether it's targets in business or medals in sport. They actually need to be part of something that goes on beyond that. What's the meaning behind your elite sporting journey? Why have you chosen to train 3 days a week, 7 days a week, 49 weeks of the year for, I don't know, a decade, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? What's the reason? Why does that matter? Why does it matter to other people? What are you part of? What communities, are you part of that actually this result, good or bad, what does it mean to them? It's that journey, it's the story, it's the things that you take with you afterwards that matter. So in a way, I'm most interested in what athletes say, the next day or 5 years after that. Did they have, are they inspiring the next generation? Are they giving back into sport? Do they feel that they move their sport on in some way, whether it's technically, whether it's, bringing it to new audiences, whether it's sort of moving on, the women's side of the sport, or whatever it might be. These are the things that give meaning to the journey, that stay with you beyond the medals. So we're back to that meaning question. And you're right, it can feel very empty, it can feel very burnt out. And the same thing I hear in business sometimes, where leaders have got a great CV, they've had great results, they've hit all of those growth targets that we were talking about before, and yet they're going, is that it? I don't feel like the rest of my life is sorted. I feel like actually I'm wasting my life, because what does this mean after I've hit the target? Great, the spreadsheet comes through. Then what? So it is this difference between almost the finite things that we achieve, which are great, but they're just milestones, and they need to have something underpinning them, a framework around them that brings the ongoing meaning, your values, that longer identity, that sense of the things that you want to do, the impact you want to have through getting those results.